video.
I feel a bit like a magician here today. Got my table, a bit like the lovely Debbie McGee holding the camera. Right then guys, so today I want to talk to you about these things, lamps, but they're not lamps, they're signpost lamps. And a signpost lamp on a motor car sits on the screen pillar about there as you're driving. And the funky bit about them, of course, is at the back of them you've got these mirrors. So that's quite a nice lamp because there's a shaped mirror. So the basic version of a signpost lamp is this. So the electric comes in here. This piece here fixes to the windscreen frame. And if you want to see something on this, you've got to unscrew it and turn it around so you can see the signpost and, you know, the destination or wherever you're trying to go to.
Jules, can I just ask you, are you talking about a white painted signpost that used to tell you where you were driving?
Like a fingerboard or whatever you called it. Is it, okay, you know, like Danehill this way and Chelvergate that way?
Because there were no reflective signs.
No reflective signs.
Okay.
Well, I've only just realised, but of course there weren't. Or much in the way of streetlights. So the period here, both of these are mid to late 20s. And I can tell you that by generally an easy way of telling things is if it's nickel, which that is, it's late 20s at the latest. By 1930 chromium was coming along, so that's an easy way of telling that. But what's even easier is getting back to one of my favourite Bibles. So Brown Brothers, I don't know how many of you have heard about Brown Brothers. Brown Brothers were suppliers of components to the motor trade. They did a few motorcycles as a complete item, but basically they were suppliers of motorcycles. They started, I'll just show you, come with me for a second. So this is the very earliest part of that. So there was a company called Snell and Brown, and they produced bicycle lamps. I'll talk about that on a different occasion, but that was the beginning of Brown Brothers. So Brown left Snell and started up with his brothers, and then that became the beginning of Brown Brothers. And if you look at their catalogue here, it is quite interesting. This is their catalogue for 1928, issued March 28. And it's Aberdeen, Birmingham, Cardiff, Dublin, Dundee, Glasgow, Leeds, London, Manchester, Newcastle upon Tyne and Southampton. And that's the places, the depots they had in this country. But when you get further into it, they'll talk, I mean, I'm just looking at here. We've got Melbourne, Wellington, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Nairobi, and something there that's missing the last bit of Buenos Aires. So they really were on a world level. And you had from workshop tools to hand tools, lathes, engineering equipment, and just on it went. We'll do one someday on some of the clothing they did, some of the clothes that they produced for drivers. Bear in mind, a lot of cars in this period were open, and you know, in this case, you got a chauffeur driving. So you had, well, anything and everything that you could think that your motor car would need. You know, accessories like this. And then if we get back onto the lamps, I'll put a little marker there. So here we are, 1928, and you can see there, this is our auto real light spotlight, and that is this little chap here. Now I looked for one of these. We did a Bentley some years ago, or a couple of years ago, and I looked for one of these things forever. I couldn't find one, and we eventually found something similar, not quite the same piece as this, in Italy. What makes these things quite special is this little box here. So if you then undo the top, you can obviously move it around. As I said, you've got the mirror. This is quite nice because it's a shaped mirror as opposed to that, which is a flat mirror, so you can have a better rear view on it. But this then really comes quite nice. So you then unscrew this, and inside here is a spool of wire, and it's on a rather worn out, but it's on a, what do you call it, spring,
A return yeah.
spring. So you pull this out, you look for your lights, for your signpost, and then promptly put it in at
So you could also be looking for the right number of the house or the cottage name, or
or indeed, you know, a lot of cars did sometimes break down. You could use it around the car if you needed to,
like a torch.
You know. So it's like a torch, like a mobile torch. So that's it really. I mean, I don't want to sort of bore you on the idea of signpost lamps, but they are interesting. They're part of motoring history. You know, we are so used to everything working and being so organised for
well, the whole infrastructure has developed around motorists, and this was the beginning of motoring, so there was no infrastructure.
No, there was very little. I mean, the road system was there obviously in place because of horses and you know, horse-driven vehicle, horse-pulled vehicles and bicycles and stuff, but for the motorist there was very little infrastructure. So we just by 28 cars are becoming more commonplace. You know, they're more accessible to people of less means, and you know, that brought out the likes of Brown Brothers and component makers. So there we are. That is signpost lamps.